Well, we've lucked out, and we're here in beautiful downtown, let me look, Illinois. And we've come across a beautiful Mohawk maiden named Dove Come Home. And I had a few questions for you, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Well, great. Your full name is?
Sherry Dawn Goshi.
Okay, and you live here in?
Elmhurst, Illinois.
And you call home Elmhurst?
Yes.
Okay. And in your lifetime, what has been your favorite achievement?
My favorite achievement.
I asked you first.
Well, that's a tough one. There's two that come to mind. One is when my son was struggling in school, and he was having a very hard time in 6th grade, and he needed to be homeschooled, and it was a big challenge for me because I didn't know if I could do it. And he was homeschooled for 2 years, and he thrived and did very well, and he went back to public school this January. So that was a big feat for me because I didn't think I could do it, and I found out that I could, and I saw my son thrive, and it made me very proud. So that was one of them. The other is when my mom, who died in March of 2007, my mom, our family, we were Christian, and my mom was adopted. At the time, we didn't know for sure that she was Native American. And we found out this January that she is Mohawk Indian. And I would say that another favorite is this one, is that when about 6 months before my mom died, Mom was in the hospital. She was having a hard time, and she actually asked me to pray with her, and she came back to the Lord after about 15 years of being away. And I felt very privileged that God used me to be a part of that process, because for her spiritual walk was very important, but she had gotten sidetracked, and Mom was very happy after that point. She had a peace, and when she passed 6 months later, we as Christians, we knew where she was. We knew she was with the Lord. So those are my two favorites.
Okay. Now these are optional from here on out. The greatest moment in your life was?
The greatest moment in my life is when my boys were born.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything that can top that.
And optional is, what was the worst moment of your life?
The worst moment of my life, I would have to say, is I attempted suicide when I was 17. My mother had a lot of problems. She was bipolar, and in the mid-'80s, my mom was diagnosed with bipolar, type 2, and we didn't know anybody that was bipolar at that time. She suffered from depression. She had definitely issues with alcohol, and I was probably the most challenging person to her when she was in a bipolar state, because I didn't understand it. And I didn't know why she was doing the things she was doing, and I wanted her to be a mother and not a party animal or running the streets or blowing all kinds of money or being promiscuous and all these other things that she would do when she was bipolar. When she wasn't in a mania, she was, more normal. And so when Mom got into an agitated mania, she could get aggressive and even violent. And her and I had gotten into an argument, and I was getting very fed up with the different things that she was doing, and nobody else was addressing the problem, and I was addressing it the wrong way, in a confrontational way. And Mom started to get physical toward me, and then that pushed me over the edge. And I had a suicide attempt, and I ended up in the hospital. I almost died. I was in intensive care for 3 days. I literally felt my life force pulling from my body. And my dad and my friend that were with me at the time were actually holding me up when I walked into the ER because I couldn't, my feet were dragging. And I remember praying to God, and this is why God is such an important relationship to me. I said, God, please don't let me die. Because I say this in case somebody is ever suicidal that's watching this. You don't actually really want to die. And I know this because at the moment when I took the 40 maximum strength Tylenol pills, I was 17 years old, I was happy. And I'm sitting there laying in my bed in my room, and my friend Michelle comes and said, why are you smiling? What's wrong? And I said, I'm just happy. She knew something was wrong. And I was happy because I said to myself, the pain is going to end. I'm not going to suffer anymore. But then the strangest thing, within a few minutes, the strangest thing began to happen. I literally felt my life force pulling from my body, my spirit. I felt it pulling from my body from the inside out. It was like it was all coming toward the middle of me. It was like pulling from the edges of my fingers, pulling from the edges of the outer body, coming into my center of my being. And I could feel it retracting from the outer portion of my body, like my perimeter. And I knew I'm dying. And by the time I got to the hospital, they had to pump my stomach and everything, and they had to pump it with charcoal for 3 days. I was in intensive care, and they were anticipating liver failure. But we were Christian. We knew a bunch of people from church. We had people praying for me around the clock. But they told my mom and dad, they said if she had gotten there any later, she would have died. So I guess another favorite would have to be that God saved me. He could have, and I have all this that I have now, not knowing what was coming forward in my life, not knowing the good things that I would be a part of. So I guess I have 3. That's probably another one.
He wasn't done with you yet.
He wasn't done. So please, if you ever feel like your life is not of value or importance, or you're better off leaving this world, please seek help, spiritual help, psychological help, whatever will, whatever you feel drawn to do, but don't give up, because there is hope, and there is hope out there.
Now, you are what I would consider a newfound Indian.
Okay.
How do you feel about being Native?
I always suspected that I was a Native American. I'm going to tell the story I told you earlier today, that when we went to Oregon, Illinois, there's a very large, I believe it's the largest Native American statue that is in the United States. It's of Chief Black Hawk. And when I was a child, I was about 6 years old, and this large statue, this enormous statue, I remember I looked up, and I'm at the feet of it, and I just hugged it. And I just felt like a connection. And even though I knew he was not really in the statue, somehow I felt connected to the Native culture. So even though I am officially a newfound Native American, I had always suspected that I was. I love nature. I love animals. I care about people. I care about the earth. I care about all the things that are important to Native Americans. So I know that that's definitely who I am.
Well, certainly glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
Thank you.